All right, welcome back to Metals, Money, and Markets. We're at May 11th for MiningClips.com. I'm Rob Goodman, and as always, Mickey Fulp, the Mercenary Geologist, will break down the info. Okay, Mickey, a relatively flat dollar here. Markets were pretty enthused, but oil's probably the big story here. Let's dive in with the metals here. We're modest gains for gold and silver.
Yeah, the metals didn't move much this week. The dollar didn't move much. Gold was up $4 to close at 13.18. Silver gained 13 cents to close at 16.62. The platinum group metals had better weeks. Platinum was up $13, closed at 9.22, and palladium was up 2.5%, $25 to 9.87. More or less, the markets were pretty quiet this week, with the exception of oil.
Decent gain for copper this week.
Yeah, it dropped to a 1-month low on Monday, and then it rallied strongly with some significant inventory drops in both COMEX and LME warehouses. But it's now in backwardation for 4 months out, which means basically that a copper is more valuable today than speculators expect it to be for the next 4 months. So, those sorts of things can turn on a dime, but it's probably not really bullish at this point for copper going forward. Closed at 313 for almost a 2% gain.
And head over to the energy markets here, where, as mentioned, oil, the big story, topped $70.
Well, it certainly has been, and it's been on quite a run here for about the last 6 weeks. Closed at 70.51 for just a percent gain, but that $70 range is resistance, if you will, is a big psychological boost for the market. The Iran deal is really the motivator for this, but also there was lots of news. The rig count was up 13 again. Production set another all-time record, up a whopping 115,000 barrels on the week to close at 10.7 million barrels per day. So the U.S. is up, but other countries are very much down. Iran, negative deal, airstrikes going on between them and the Israelis, and into Iraq, et cetera, et cetera. Canada lost big again, -7 rigs. I didn't have time to take a look at their rig count, but it certainly is well below 70 rigs turning to the right. And Western Canadian Select crude lost 4%, once again going down. And really the big loser in the oil market is once again Venezuela. They've got elections coming up, I think a week from Monday, perhaps, or a week from Sunday. Let me correct myself. And that could lead to more sanctions from the U.S. There's no doubt that Maduro is going to get elected in somewhat rigged elections. And finally, Conoco has basically declared a force majeure and taken over a couple of the refineries in Venezuela. They're trying to export oil from decrepit ports on super tankers and getting nowhere. So really a mess in Venezuela. Finally, in energy, I want to mention something that came across my desk yesterday. California is now the ultimate nanny state. It is just required that all new homes, it is just mandated that new home construction requires solar panels on the rooftops.
And head over to the currency markets here, a relatively flat dollar and euro, but Loonie had a decent week.
Yeah, the dollar ended its 1-month uptick. It was actually above 93 on Wednesday, then it fell off a bit, closed at 92.54, down just a tad. Euro, of course, should have been down a bit, but it's so weak right now. It was off more than a penny for a 0.2% gain. Lots of this dollar rally has been driven by the weakness in the euro, and also the Chinese are manipulating the yuan and trying to drive it down to help with some of Trump's trade tariffs or mitigate the effects of those. And the loonie was up 0.5% to close at a little bit above 78 cents. But considering the rise in oil, you would have expected a stronger loonie. And of course, Canadian oil patches in the world are hurt.
And heading over to these markets to finish it up here, pretty strong week across the board.
Yeah, the Dow's been up 6 days in a row. It's been a while since we've seen a rally this sustained. Closed at 24,831, up well over 2% on the week. S&P 500 now up 7 days in a row. It's getting up there toward, well above 2,700 now. Closed at 2727 for nearly a 2.5% gain. NASDAQ was off a bit Friday, but it turned in the best week of all, 7403, up 2.7%. It's interesting to note that the VIX has been negative or going downhill for 6 days in a row, less than 13 on the VIX. Now, that tells you it was a pretty quiet week on Wall Street. And one thing we should also mention, S&P 500, although it tried to touch the 200-day moving average over the last 3 or 4 weeks, it is well above that now. We want that to remain so.
And finishing up the venture here, pretty decent week for the venture.
Yeah, it's still at December tax loss levels, though. It closed at 783 for a 1.5% gain. But, there's just nothing going on. It's averaging 60 million shares per day. This is basically a sleepwalking market, and it has been such since mid-January.
Okay, Mickey, we'll keep our eye on that wire. A lot of geopolitical news seems to be going on here, so have a great weekend and appreciate the insight.
All right, thanks a lot, Rob.